I'm Dave Brown, and you're watching Nasty Knuckles.
You're listening to Nasty Knuckles, the Hockey Outlaws podcast, with your hosts, Derek Nasty Sotomayor and former Philadelphia Flyer enforcer, Riley Cote, as they go behind the scenes with your favorite NHL players. Time to face off.
All right, welcome back. What's happening, Nasty?
What's up, Rigarelli? You get a little gummy in you this morning?
Jeez.
You okay?
Sitting on a feather over here.
I thought you were. A little laughter.
Jeez.
Ballers got the comp on, the competition.
Took me a while to pull it together.
It did take you a while.
But here we
I
are.
can't wait to watch that. What's going on, buddy? How was your weekend?
Pretty strong weekend.
Yeah, a little
the
Warrior
girls.
Gala?
Yeah, a little Warrior Gala. Yeah.
Friday night?
Nicely done by the boys.
Very well done. It was awesome.
Yeah,
cool
man.
seeing those guys in their unis, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes
All
being
decked out.
friends with them, we hang out. We know what they've been through and what they've done, but then you see that and you're like, oh, shit, man.
Yeah,
Like,
nice little reminder.
it's a big-time reminder. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
they
a
look-
lot of fun.
They looked nice and done up.
Yeah.
Dav squeezing in his
He
outfit,
squeezed
dropped
in.
in
Dad,
30.
good job. He had one of those girdles on, I heard.
Little girl,
you know,
yeah, right, yeah. Little
spandex
corset,
to
was that
go
corset?
yes, to go into that. Yeah, but Dav, you look good. Don't listen to Riles. I thought you looked sharp.
Oh, yeah, real
How
sharp,
about
real sharp.
Duff said he got up there to give a little speech, and he said, I'm just trying not to move too quick so buttons don't pop off.
Yeah, right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
He looks sharp, too.
But
They
it was
all- they
it
all
was
did.
definitely a nicely planned event, an upgrade
Yes.
from last year. The food was better. Just
Really?
DJ Hollywood, and
You weren't
just
really allowed to get up to go eat, but I mean, we won't get
I got
into that.
approved.
I told Baller about
I got approval,
You
Nas.
got approval, yeah. Did you have any dessert?
got the nod. No desserts.
No, this is Mama said be home with dessert.
Jeez,
Couldn't do it.
way too much refined carbohydrates there.
Oh my God. You only live once, people. Have a fucking snack. It's okay. Have a little cupcake once in a while.
Wow, this wasn't
Or a
ready
bun,
for Or a
bun
bunsy.
cake. Bunsy. Little buns cake. Missed you Sunday night. Fought through a W. Hung on to win against Rolling Rock, our buddies. 5-4 game. It was fun. It was fun.
You guys are in the playoffs.
Yeah. No thanks to you.
Wow, you don't
Showing
need-
up for one game.
That's all you needed me for.
No, you're supposed
Just a
to be
little
a part of the
support for
team.
one game.
It's
Yeah,
not
well, I'm
cool.
trying, man.
Guys
Just-
are like this. Riles, we didn't think he was a big timer, but he obviously doesn't have time for the boys.
well, It'd be a little easier for me if it was 6-7 minutes away from the rink.
Well, it'd
you
be a
know.
lot easier if you didn't live out in BFE because, I mean, just
Well, I
come
guess-
back a little bit to, like, civil,
Send me the car. Send me the chopper. I'm ready. Just need a little assistance.
Well, you should bring your own
left.
chopper.
Well, I know,
You have
you're right.
one. Since last week, the Flyboys, not bad, 2-1. Didn't really show up I shouldn't say show up, but didn't have a great first and second period. I mean, not horrible against Colorado, but first of all, after we had Fridge and Duffy on last week, the Flyers went to Ottawa and totally outplayed.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say that, not that they weren't trying, but just Ottawa was buzzing.
Yeah.
And we somehow came away with a win in
Yeah.
that game. And it was
hard to believe,
It's
actually.
hard to believe you win that game, but in the end, you win.
You win,
That's
yeah.
all that matters.
It's easy.
But, Matvei ends up with a game-winning goal from – it just shows players like him, their IQ, their thinking. He's not the only guy that takes that shot, but he saw something.
Oh, yeah.
And he shot it, scored. Big game-winning goal there. And what a comeback, too. You're down 2 in the third, and you find a way to get 2 goals there. And Richard, and I believe it was Breaker, wasn't it? Bobby Brink got the one to tie the game up, and then you win in overtime. So you feel pretty good coming out of that one.
Yep.
Come home, Buffalo was at that game the other night, 5-2
Yeah,
win. Buffalo's
there.
got a lot of injuries, but you got to win the game.
Yeah.
And they did. They
Yeah.
played well.
Yeah, they did.
5-2 win. Fedotov has really started making his game more compact, and he looks pretty comfortable in that.
Yeah,
right
he does,
now. Go to Monday's game against the Avs. They're a good team coming in. I know their record's not showing what they really are, but They were pretty dominant first two periods. Flyers fight back again. They show the fight. They fight back, make it a game, have a couple chances there. But Kolosov looked sharp in that,
Yeah, he
I
did.
thought.
He made some big saves.
So not a bad week. 2-1. Maybe like to sneak a point out of that Avalanche game, but can't say they weren't trying. They battled their bags off. So.
Well, they squeezed 2 out of Ottawa, so that made up for that
True.
extra point
That's
there.
a good point.
Colorado's a good team, and Makar could have had a hattie in the first there. This guy in the first.
He
disallowed
basically
a goal
did. They
and-
disallowed
Yeah,
a
I
goal.
know, right? But
Yeah, he's not bad.
these superstars they have, it's just
I heard he wants to come to Philly.
straight up,
Time.
let's make
Straight
a deal.
up, make a deal. Make a deal.
Yeah. So again, I think Kolosov, I don't want to say kept them in the game, but
Right.
he made some saves.
He was good. He was good.
But yeah, the fight was there.
Yeah.
They're trying. They're right there. Would have been nice to squeeze that one out, but it's kind of the way it goes.
They back at it.
Back
It's
at
Carolina.
it. That's right.
See what happens. Also, Helge Grans, first
Grans,
NHL point in his first game. That was pretty cool to see. Played well. Didn't look out of place to me at all.
Yeah. He's on point for.
Yeah.
Well,
He's got a point a game.
He's on pace for a point a game, man.
What's left? 60 games, maybe.
It's a pretty good season.
60 points.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Also, big congratulations to EJ.
Yeah.
My God, Erik
1,000
Johnson,
games.
1,000th game. Cool to see him do it in the Flyers uniform. Former number 1 draft pick from St. Louis, and then obviously won a cup in Colorado. He's had a really good career. I was lucky enough to have him on a couple of USA teams. Great guy.
It seems
Love
like
the
it.
fact that he signed back here. He really, talking to him, he really enjoyed being here and loves what's going on.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to see. So congrats, EJ.
Yeah. It's no joke. 1,000 games, Ness.
It's crazy,
Not
man.
an easy feat.
No, it's not. It really isn't.
You gotta have a few things working for you. Certainly, staying healthy is one of them. But obviously, a hell of a player and a wily old vet now in the orange and black. I think he's great for the young guys.
Yeah, for sure.
He seems like a good character guy. Like positive. Seems like he's smiling all the time.
Yep.
So it's nice to see. It's the energy you need from those older guys.
Yeah, for sure.
So congrats.
Yeah, and it stepped in well with the injuries. So you're missing Drysdale, Andre, and York.
Yeah.
And Helge stepped right in.
He did.
Bronzy.
I think
he
so,
did.
too.
He did a hell of a job
Yeah.
there. So congrats, man.
Yeah.
First point. Moving on, Ovi. You said he maybe would get 10 this year. He's got 15
10.
in under 20 games, but unfortunately he got hurt the other night.
Yeah,
And it
slow
says
him
week
down.
to week. That sucks, man, because he is hot.
Yeah.
And there were the other night against Utah when he got hurt. I don't know if you saw his goals, but one was a total
Missile.
Ovi, absolute. Probably went through the net. I don't know if it went through the net, but it looked like it was going to. But wow, his 15th, man. He's creeping. I hope he gets healthy. I hope it's nothing too serious, man.
Yeah.
You don't see that guy. He hasn't been hurt very
No,
often.
yeah,
in his
he's
career,
been extremely
man.
durable over the
He's
years.
so big and strong, man. But
Week to week is kind of not say a suspect.
but
time frame, but
that worries me a little bit.
Yeah,
week
I know.
To week.
So it's like he's obviously a little bit more than a little tweaker. So
Yeah.
I wonder how bad it is, and just hopefully he can somehow maintain his pace.
I hope so, man. It's fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Baller thought he could probably do it this year. You did not. Maybe you saw this coming. And do you not know what it is, Dr. Cote?
No.
Because usually
Didn't get the diagnosis.
You didn't get it yet?
No,
I
just
figured
the-
you called him in.
Just the timeline.
Other
I think,
injury news. What?
I
Sorry.
think you're on the record multiple times saying he wouldn't get it.
I was just kidding. Did I say that? I did. I think I did say that. You're right, Baller. I think I said I didn't think he would get 40 or whatever it was he needed at the beginning. But now, man, like
You said
15.
Are you retracting?
No, I can't. But I mean, if he doesn't get hurt and he stays this hot, he's going to get 50 this year. But no, obviously, I didn't think he had that in him after last year. He got the goals late. Now he's getting them early.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like old school Ovi.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
he's
really,
back.
really does.
He's feeling it.
Other injury news. Auston Matthews went to Germany to see a doctor. Upper body injuries, all they're saying. I called Chief yesterday. I go, Chief, I need to know. People need to know what's going on. No, I didn't ask
What's
him
the
about
German intel saying?
I don't know. I'm going to have to get on there. No, I'm not sure about German intelligence, but he went over. I don't know if he's still there, but I was talking to Chief yesterday, and he said they do have a few injuries, and but the team's playing fairly well. I think they won 5 of 6. Mitch Marner's really stepping up. He's playing well.
Nice to see.
Nylander still could cruise around and get a point a game. It's not a big deal.
Why would you want to give it any more?
No, you shouldn't. You going to try?
You don't need to.
Yeah, I guess
cruise
not.
Control, you can still get her done. Why?
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of another injury, Mitch Dunning. Josh Manson had said, I had enough. He comes flying through. No, it was an accident, but crashes into, he just didn't see. Man, Josh didn't have his head on the swivel there.
It was definitely
Poor guy, just right in the lower back, dude.
Yeah.
You're not expecting it. You can only imagine. But word is he's okay, and that, we're glad for that, man.
Yeah,
We're thinking about you because that did not look good. When you get thrown on a stretcher coming off the ice,
you don't see that very often.
That's
in the
not a
ref
good
world.
look. And
What's
was
the
honestly worried about him.
Yeah, for sure. What's the diagnosis?
Well, I was going to ask you if you saw the X-rays yet, but no, I heard he's doing well. Mitch, get well, buddy. He'll be back soon.
The report is he's sore.
Wow.
Little ice pack and CBD.
Yeah.
Little ice pack and some flour. Good to go.
Flower,
He'll be back. Good to
He'll
go.
be back on the ice no time.
Oh yeah.
Talk about a big hit the other night in Toronto.
Oh,
Ryan
God.
Reaves
That was
put the exorcism
absolutely massive.
on Darnell Nurse. And it's not funny because he was fucking hurt, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that one picture, I don't know if Baller you have it, you can throw it up, but the impact, literally, Darnell's looking behind him. Like his head whipped so much. I can't even imagine how high of a grade concussion you can have. Like it has to be that. And wish him well, obviously.
Yeah.
Really nice guy. I've met him a couple times, but at the same time, man, like Reaves, you got to know. We've talked about this 100 times. Like you have to know when that guy's on the ice, and he doesn't play a lot, so he's going to try to make his impact when he's out there. And they're both big guys, but like I don't think for a second Reaves targeted his head.
No, I don't think so.
He just went to hit him hard, and obviously he gets his head. I don't know what you do in those situations. You obviously don't want to see something like that. He ends up, Ryan Reaves ends up getting 5 games, and I can see why, but I really don't, in my heart, believe that he was like, hey, I'm going to hit this guy right in the jaw and whip his head around like that. But he does want to finish his check.
Well, that's it. I mean, and then the way the play developed from behind the net there, you know, he already came, has already had some speed, and then he saw him wheel in the net, and it was just like, as a guy like Reaves on the forecheck, like that is like the grade A hit opportunity.
Yep.
And there's not enough time to process ever trying to target someone's head or anything like that. All you're seeing is a body move, and your job is to, separate the man from the puck and finish the check. And that's what he did. And he was cruising. That was he was like a missile. And he's a big dude, and he was hounding the forecheck, and very vulnerable situation for Nurse there coming around. And should he I've noticed him there probably, but it happened so fast.
I mean, it did happen fast.
You can't pull up in those situations. You got a guy locked in like that. Maybe it's the last second, however it played out on Nurse's part, maybe the shoulder, lands up impacting like the chest cavity or something versus the jaw or the head. But I mean, just the way it plays out looks ugly. I mean.
Yeah, it was an ugly scene. Yeah. I mean, and like I said, I don't think Revo meant to hit him in the head, but he did. Yeah. He gets 5 games, and we wish Darnell the best. Yep. So hopefully speedy recovery, man. But it did not look good.
No. You don't see big hits like that.
No, you don't.
Blow guys up.
I don't mind a guy getting hit like here. It knocks the breath out of him, and it's probably going to whip your head. But that was a shoulder on chin, and again, I don't think.
A big dude coming at full speed.
Full speed, man.
Feel that one for a while, but
wish him the best.
Yeah.
JT Miller, they announced last night that he's taking a leave of absence from the team. We wish him all the best, personal reasons. So anytime, obviously he's going through something. So wish him the best, and hopefully he can get back, get healthy, whatever it is, and get back to doing what he loves to do.
That's it.
For the Vancouver Canucks. Our buddy, Jim Montgomery, relieved of his duties. What are your thoughts on that? I think they're a game under 500. His winning percentage is pretty damn good. Both years he's been there. Well, he was a Jack Adams winner. Yes, they lost in the playoffs, but they also lost to the Florida Panthers, who lost in the finals and then won the Stanley Cup. This year obviously hasn't gone that well. You've seen some bench episodes where, to me, as a coach, you can do that. But we don't know everything. I haven't talked to Monty, let it process, and I'll reach out to him. Feel terrible for him. He's a great coach.
Yeah.
I will say this, just from an outsider watching, and we talked about this before, like, I feel like their team is not what it was,
right,
for sure. No excuses. Monty would never give that excuse, but I don't think the Swayman thing was handled properly, and we kind of talked about that with Sweeney, and even one of my favorite players ever, Cam Neely, just the way they acted in that.
That press conference.
The things they said in the press conference, like, first of all, Olmark's gone. Just sign Swayman. You're going to give him the money. Why hold him out of camp? All this stuff, and he has not looked like Swayman of old.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because he doesn't have that security. Not that Korpisalo is a bad goalie. It shouldn't matter to Swayman. It probably doesn't. I shouldn't even say that. But he has not played as well as he has in the past, although the team is not probably as good as it was in the past either. So hate to see that like this early, but, it happens.
It happens.
We always talk about a coach's shelf life, 2.5 to 3 years. I thought Monty, I know there were talks, I think our buddy Elliot Friedman had said that there had preliminary talks of extension for Monty. I think he's a great coach, and he'll end up somewhere.
Yeah,
for sure.
Agreed. It was getting a little hairy there, the last however long, fragile. Their last game there against Columbus seemed to be the nail in the casket there. There's been some... you mentioned like the highlights of him giving it to Marchand or whatever on the bench, and I think that's totally normal. Challenging your leaders, challenging your players. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes there too? You know what I mean? There could be some some friction when things don't go well. There's adversity in the locker room, and different personalities maybe don't deal with things the best way. Who knows? I mean, I'm just speculating here, but the reality is they say they underachieved his first year in the sense that they overachieved during the regular season, and then they fell short.
Right. There's
probably been a few things, not saying that it was his fault, but then you got the early part of the season here where they're underachieving. Say again, I mean, the team isn't as great as you mentioned, game under 500, but we're in the business of performance. Things aren't going well.
Yeah.
The game, like we mentioned, the Columbus game, that's just kind of like one of those games that just gets coaches fired. I don't know. Like, it's just like that's the game. It's like, okay, all the management knows. Like, after that, it seems like, when things are kind of unraveling there a bit. So I wish her the best. I mean, he is a great coach. And as you know, coaching, you're only as good as the horses most of the time. And, you know, and if the guys, aren't competing every night, and they're not pulling in the same direction, it's hard to win games. But,
for sure.
We'll see how that goes. Wish him the best. He'll find a job
Monty,
for sure.
Wish you the best, brother. I'll talk to you soon, man. Great coach, like you said, and he'll find a job.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Good hockey mind.
Yeah, really good. All right, dude.
What else you got, Nast?
I got the Brown Dog coming up.
Brown Dog. Oh, been tracking him down for a while. Oh yeah, big lefty. All right, Nast, episode 180 with Dave Brown.
Let's go.
Welcome back. I'm Riley Cote.
And I'm Derek Settlemeyer. And this week we are absolutely thrilled to have the former heavyweight champion of the league here with us today. This young man was drafted in 1982 by the Flyers in the 7th round, 140th overall from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I love saying Saskatchewan. When you're a redneck like me, it's fun to say those words. Played for the Flyers. Ended up playing for the Edmonton Oilers, where he won a Stanley Cup, and finished up in San Jose. Currently the head of pro scouting for our Philadelphia Flyers. Played 729 games, Riggs, in NHL, 14 seasons. And like I said, I always thought of him as a heavyweight champ. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite people I was ever fortunate enough to meet as a young kid. My dad was his trainer, and then I got to work with him as well. Please welcome Mr. Dave Brown to the show. What's up, Brown Dog?
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to see you, Riley, Derek.
You too.
Great
Thanks for
seeing you
having me
too.
on.
Yeah,
We
appreciate
appreciate
the
your time, man. We know you're busy and the role you have, and I guess just start off by asking you, what do you think about the Flyers so far this season? I know that we're in a rebuilding mode, and you have to be patient, but it's still exciting with some of these young players coming up.
Yeah, I think we have some young players. And we got some young players in juniors too. Like Luchenko, I thought showed himself well, but it was probably better for him to go back. I think they made a good decision there. We have Oliver Bonk, who's going to be a good defenseman. And now we all know, got a taste of what Michkov can do. I mean, any good team's going to have a top line scorer. And
Right.
it looks like he has those kind of ingredients. We just have to be patient with him and let him get stronger, and he'll gain confidence along the way. But, we have some young guys, Forrester, Konechny is, one of our older guys, established guys that plays hard all the time. So Sanheim's really played better on the back end this year. He's logging a lot of ice time. I think we got some pieces here, but to put it all together, we still know we're going to need some time here, and it is tough to stay patient. But I think you just want to see fans want to see a team compete every night, and they work hard and do the best they can. There's not much more you can ask for than giving your best every night. So that's what I like to see when I watch our team. I want to see our team compete, and I think most nights they do.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the last maybe 5-6 games they've kind of gotten back to the way they were. They kind of finished up last year. It was just that the hard team to play against, that that cultured team. You've been part of the Flyers organization for a long time, specifically in this role. You've seen a lot of teams over the years, and developing a lot of different players. Like, and you won a Stanley Cup as a player. Like, how far off is this rebuild? Like, just from like your experience, is this like a 2-3 year thing where you think that the Flyers have an honest shot to make a stab at it?
Well, I don't know if I have a timeline. Like, obviously, I think it's probably determined by how good your top players are.
Yeah.
I know we have 3 first-round draft picks coming in the draft this year, so we gotta hit on those. But like looking at a guy like Luchenko, we think he's going to be a good player.
Yeah.
So you got a piece there. Like, I think if you get a couple pieces, big pieces on your front end, and a couple big pieces on your back end, then you got a lot to build on. Then most teams have to start with a couple really some players that can play in your top line, because let's face it, most of these games are won by your top 2 lines.
That's right.
Right.
So, I don't think I would put a timeline on, where we are. I think that's going to be established by how, where our young guys develop and where they develop into. So I really couldn't put a timeline on that, but I think the better your prospects are, the quicker your rebuild is going to be.
Yeah.
And I don't want to even call it that rebuild, but we're developing young players in our organization that, and when we get enough of them, that's when we're going to turn it around.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's hard to put a timeline on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to ask you, Brownie, because you're in charge of the pro scouting for the Flyers, and
Well, I just want to. I might really not. I'm one of the senior guys. I'm not
Okay.
really the guy that coordinates everything, but I'm just another scout out there. But
okay.
I am one of the older guys.
Okay.
A
Well,
wily vet.
yeah, being a pro scout, like, as you mentioned, these kids, we're developing these kids, and then you're at all these games, you work your ass off going to watch all these players. Is that when, say in a couple years or even this year, however it works out for what you're doing, all right, hey, we're right here, maybe this veteran guy, is that what you're looking for? Or are you also looking for younger players that may not be fitting in with other teams? Like, I know there's probably a lot that goes on your plate for scouting, but just wondering.
Yeah, I think overall, we try to target all the players in all the games that I see. We'll report on all the 24 and younger players, because that's probably the range that we're looking at. And then, so those are the guys we report on all the time, 24 and under, because that's where our range is. You're talking about, those guys in another 3 years would be 27, and they'll be in the area that you're looking. So every game that I go to, those are the players we're reporting on most of the time. And then as far as the mix and that, like, obviously, I think winning is something that you have to have as far as you teaching you guys to win from when they first come into your organization. It's not something that just happens. So, like you said, you mentioned having older veteran guys in that are in your lineup that can help teach your young guys that. And I think that's something that's very important, because seeing some teams in the past that had long stretches, like years of not winning, and it's tough to get that culture back.
Right.
But we still have that culture where we know that you gotta win and you gotta compete to be successful in that, I think. And so, you have to have a mix of older guys to help your young guys. But overall, we're just reporting on the younger guys right now, because that's falling into our time zone as far as where we think we're going to be.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never really thought of that. That's kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
3 year,
Yeah, you got a pretty short window there.
Yeah.
I mean, how many games are you seeing, weekly and monthly these days?
I'm going to probably see 20, between anywhere from 17 to 20 games probably a month.
Wow. That's still pretty heavy load.
There's a lot of guys will do more than that. Yeah, there's guys that do more than that. But I feel like, once I get in 4 or 5 days on the road, I kind of stay fresh to doing my job. Right. I think you can overload it. But, I mean, we have designated teams that we have to go and watch, and we have enough reports on these guys. And that's as long as we take care of our own area, do our own job, and that, I think we have good coverage on what we're watching.
Yeah. And I just had a question around like what you're looking for, specifically in the Flyers organization. Historically has obviously a culture. Is that kind of a thing of the past? Are you just looking at the best available players now, or are you guys going in like, obviously, maybe by position, but like, is there a certain, certain characteristics you guys are looking for specifically, as a Flyers organization, or is it just, whoever's the best that fits the mold?
Yeah. No, I think we try to report on everybody, and I think the idea is we try to like I said, we're doing most of the 24 and under, but we will make reports on pretty much everybody, just not as much. But the younger guys that we're going to key on, I think we. Well, I know I lost my train of thought, but like obviously the 24 and under are the guys that we're looking at. And just the older guys that we report on are possibly guys that maybe you want to put in another time, but like we have information on all these guys. There isn't anybody that we really don't know, I don't think.
Right. I will tell you this, Brownie. I went on a little scouting with Neil Little, who he Litz obviously works for Montreal.
That's a little adventure.
Yeah, it was an adventure. I will say that. We went up to Newark. He's like, "Hey, you want to take a ride? You can come up with me." So I did my first game scouting. I have my notes.
Yeah, a little notepad lineup.
I didn't write a thing down, but it was just fun. I saw a few other guys that I knew up there. Vince Williams works with
I see Vince all the time.
Yeah, at Vegas. But it was pretty cool. And Litz is like, I'm up there and I'm like talking to him, and he's like, "Hey, like, hang on a second." I'm like, "Shit, I got to shut up here." He's actually concentrated, which I knew he would be, but it was kind of fun. It was kind of fun. We had a good time. We got to see Chief after. We went to see Toronto and the Devils play, so it's more for me.
I actually saw Let's up in New Jersey the other day too.
Did you?
Oh yeah. He was Montreal. Montreal was in town, so he got to see his own team and that. So
okay,
I think he was went up to see the GM and stuff like that. So
That's
it's always a colorful guy to be around.
Yeah, he's funny. I said, if I would tell him how good I did, tell your GM how well I did tonight scouting. I picked out a couple good players. I saw this 34 for Toronto, Matthews. He was pretty good. I really liked. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but to talk about like the depth of these reports, because I feel like they just get more robust and like the amount of detail on each player, and it's like game after game after game, right? I guess you're just kind of like, I guess at the end of the day, just like looking at the consistency of these guys and just being like, you just kind of
I think probably what I look at is as these players get even through the year, are they getting better? Are they getting not as good? Or are they development stalled? Or, most of these young guys are getting a little bit better each time you see them. I'm not going to say all of them, but like say everybody can have a bad game in that. But I think that's what I want to see is the players improving as they get older. And especially you look in the American League, like some of these guys take a while to develop. Yeah. And they need time. There's some guys down there that could take 2 or 3 years because, a lot of them, some of them are big and they have to grow into their body. And, you look at a guy let's say somebody really would call them a project that they need time. They're going to need 2 or 3 years. And it's hard to see that. Like a lot of times you don't see a lot of development there, but then all of a sudden, they get a little bit stronger. They gain confidence from that, and then they play better in what they're doing. They're stronger. They can win more puck battles. They're at least improving. So I think when I go to watch players, I try to see, ask myself, is this guy getting better? Is he stalled? Is he where is he like in his development? So you like to see each time you see one of these players, if they're getting better or not.
Right.
And so you try to reflect that in the reports. Like my reports aren't extremely detailed. I think I would try and tell you, project what that player is going to be, what he is now, and what's he going to be.
Right.
That's what I feel is where there's most value in that. Tell me what the player is and tell where he is now, and tell me where he's going to be.
We've talked about that, Brownie, a lot. It's like, in hockey and in all sports now, there's so many like things with the analytics and all this. But to me, a lot of the time is an eye test. You've obviously played a ton of games. You've watched God knows how many. To me, it says more to me. I know there's some truth to analytics and stuff, and I don't think you have to deal with that. The Flyers have about 21 people on staff. I think they did when I was still there, but to me, like you just said, like I feel like that eye test is something that
I'm not against the analytics at all. I think if you can you can use a tool to compare your information with in those ways. Like I think any information that helps you get better is good information, no matter what it is, whether it's analytics or it's just the eye test. I think maybe the analytics can confirm some of the things that you're thinking, you're seeing, and stuff like that. So anything that you can help your organization get better, I'm all for that.
Right.
Because this game is evolving, it's changing. It's so different from when I first came in the league, and you guys all know that. Since you started in this business, how much it's changed. Like, oh my God, it changes all the time, right?
Yeah.
So, then you got to stay up with it. It's try and have the best information that you can bring in for your team, so you can. You're trying to get better as fast as we can.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Use all that information.
Yeah. You ever seen the analytics and the old eye test being conflicting, sides? Yeah. I mean, and so then you're.
I agree. Definitely. Yeah. I know you can see on that. Like, I don't know how you measure heart with a number.
Right. Exactly. Right.
I've heard you say that before. Yeah.
I mean, you can't measure a guy's heart. So you can do that. For me, that's a little easier with the eye test.
Exactly.
You can tell if a guy's competing and playing hard. So I just think that's hard to place a number on that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, but that's one example. There's others, I'm sure.
Right.
But that would be the first thing I would say if I answered that question.
For sure. Yeah. Well, we want to get into your playing career. Obviously, you're known as one of the baddest dudes. The play of the game, a big lefty. We were watching some of your fights and just crippling guys. But just maybe walk us through early parts of your maybe junior career and getting drafted and like entering on the scene and kind of running into some of these badass dudes in early part of your career, because you had to have been you were become one of the most intimidating guys. You had to have been intimidated at one point too in your career.
Well, yeah, you know what it's like. I mean, you came up through the same thing. You experienced the same thing that I did. Even going back to before I played juniors and that. I mean, we just played hockey to have fun. And even back I played in this Wesley's, which would have been junior B at that time. That's really where I got a lot of experience, because I got kicked off a midget team, and I was like, I think 15 years old. So I went and decided to play with a junior B team. And 16 years old, in that league you could have five or I think it was 6 20-year-olds, and everybody else had to be younger than that. So when I was 16 years old, playing against 20-year-olds was a big jump. And it's where I got a lot of experience, and that really taught me, like, you're playing with men here basically now, and you're 16 years old. So I got some lessons learned in that. And
Wow.
so, but it was like, Riley, it was like, it wasn't, there was always, people are always fighting. I mean, there was always fighting. Everybody was just fighting to win. I don't know if they just like fighting, but it was like playing those games. It was like, they're serious. Like, I remember walking out of the rink there, a place called Marceline. We just, the team I had, it's kind of some of the rough side of town. With some of these guys didn't always show up. So sometimes we played with 12 or 13 guys.
Oh my gosh.
We got lots of ice time, like I was playing all the time. But we brawled this team in the second period, like emptied the benches, a place called Marceline. And anyway, we brawled, and then they got this all cleaned up. And then after that, we're sitting in the dressing room getting ready to go for the second period, and they didn't want to play anymore. So they called the game, and just that was the end of it. I don't know how they counted in the league or what. But I guess my point is, we didn't think anything of, getting into a fight at a hockey game. I guess we played that hard. We thought, this is what we got to do to win the game, and we're going to play hard. And it was really just for winning in that. And we enjoyed playing hockey. So that's where I got a lot of education when I was 15, 16 years old, playing against 20-year-olds. I realized that, you had to take care of yourself, and that you had to have that element in the game. Otherwise, you're going to get run out of town.
Yeah.
And so I realized, hey, and I didn't really know my ability at that time. I just knew I could stand up for myself and that. And so that's where I got a lot of education.
Right.
After that, next step would have been, I went to junior camp. I guess I graduated high school when I was 17 years old. And then I went to, first camp I went to was Billings Bighorns and my mom, I remember my mom drove me up there to High River, Alberta. We had training camp there at the rink, and she dropped me off, and see you later. So I was, I think, 17 years old then. And then I went to camp there, and I was there with Billings probably for a month, and then they wanted to send me back to York and play Tier 2. And then I said, can you give me somewhere, give me another chance for a little while? So they sent me to Spokane. I went there for a month. And then after that, I came. They said, we're going to send you back to York. And so I went back to York, and I finished the year out there. I actually had a pretty good season there and that. And so going from junior B into that, I realized my first training camp is where I got a real good education. I can remember coming off the bench in one of the first games we played, and the guy sucker punched me and knocked me down to my knees, but I grabbed him by the sweater, and I started punching him from my knees, and that I guess I couldn't get back up, but I finished the fight. But I can remember that was probably one of the biggest lessons I learned down in the Western Hockey League was you make sure you kept your eye on everybody.
Right.
I never personally liked that kind of playing it like that. I never sucker punched anybody.
Right.
But I found the guy later that like next year anyway.
Found him later. You had a little list, right? I was going to ask you, going from junior, I read, I think I read somewhere, I may have seen you doing an interview, but when you made that jump, you get drafted and you go to the American League, you had, I think you said that I didn't maybe realize that I could play in a National Hockey League, but once you got to the American League and you had that first year, I guess it kind of started settling in that maybe you could do this. But I couldn't imagine, like, Riley kind of went through the same thing. But you're still a young kid when you go to the American League, and now you're fighting men. What was that like for you? Jumping into, like, you were fighting men when you were younger, but now you're fighting professionals.
Yeah, well, we were pretty active in junior too. Like it wasn't not that year I was talking about, but it would have been the following year. I played junior. I got traded to Saskatoon, and we had a tough team. But I mean, that's really where we started. I started learning, how to fight, and we had a tough team. We probably, I don't know how many. Like as like Riley was at even at that time. Like there was a lot of fighting. There was a lot of brawls. And you had to take care of yourself. And we probably had 4 or 5 guys that could handle themselves really well. And then, another 3 or 4 guys could fight because you'd be fighting all the time. Mm-hmm. But I think that's probably where you develop, your kind of style and how you fight. And most of all was just standing up for yourself, because otherwise you get run out of the rink.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so, I mean, it wasn't anything extraordinary then. It was just common that this is what was going to happen in these games. And if you wanted to play hockey, this is what you had to do.
Right.
And it's, and that's, where you developed your style and your way you played and way you fight. And, I mean, we were pretty active then. But, you going back to what you said about playing in the NHL, I never really thought, after I played my first year of pro in Portland, Maine, that's really when I thought I had a chance to play in the NHL. I didn't really even think up until that time. I really just played hockey because I enjoyed it and I had fun. And, I can always remember my mom and dad saying, you got to have something else, because that only 2% of the players that play junior hockey ever play in the NHL. So you have to have something else, because, so they basically said, you're likely not going to play in the NHL. You have to have something else. But I think after my first year in Portland, that's when I really thought I had a chance to play.
Right.
I actually got called up for 3 games that year. And, I was surprised, but we had a really good season in Portland. We went to the finals that year, and we lost 4 straight, but it was a really good experience the entire year. We had a good team there. We had really good veteran players there to teach us in that. And we had a good team. So I think after that first year is really when I thought, yeah, you know what, I have a chance to play there. So before that, I can honestly say that I played the game because I enjoyed playing, and it was just kind of a way of life. You know what it's like, Riley? It was a way of life in Canada to play hockey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I would have thought, somewhere along the line sooner, since you're just so big, and I would imagine you were just dummying guys in juniors too, that you would have, that you would have maybe had that, that inkling that you could maybe find your way. But it sounds like after your first year pro there, like you had a, overall, good season as a team, as an individual. I'm assuming that you fought everyone and their brother and did well, that you got that confidence that, that carried you over into the, to the NHL.
Yeah. Well, you know what it's like. Everybody, for me, most of the fights were even. A lot of times you're going to take a punch in the face sometimes, maybe a couple, maybe more than that. But, it's, at that age, you're just learning what you're doing and trying to get better and trying to play the game as much as you can. You learn along the way. It makes you better. So, I mean, I fought a lot that year. Yeah, I think wow. I think set the new penalty record that year in Portland, well, by a couple minutes. But yeah, I was pretty busy. But
the jungle down there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like you have to establish yourself. I mean, guys are coming after you, and you go after them, and All along, I think for me, it still didn't matter. Like, I know I was establishing myself, but once you get established, for me, it was like you didn't have to fight all the time. I wanted to like to say that I fought for a reason to help my team win the game.
Right.
And if it didn't help my team win the game, then why would I do that? I
Right.
want to try and play the game sometimes too.
Right.
I just didn't want to be the guy that's just fighting all the time. That's the only thing he does. I want to be able to have fun and play the game, because that's what we originally growing up, that's what we wanted to do, is play hockey. But what it's like as you get older, you realize this was, playing tough was going to be part of my role if I was going to have a chance of playing the game, because that's something that I did the best.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I was a fourth line player that could play a fourth line shift, but the other things are what kept me in the NHL. But I guess my point was, we just wanted to play the game, and this is a way that I could play in the NHL, or had a chance to maybe play in the NHL. So, but yeah, Portland, Maine was a big learning ground for me.
It's funny you say that, Brownie. Riley's talked about before. He knew what it was that was going to get him to that level, but he always says, looking back, I think I saw you do an interview with Knuckles Nyland and Timmy Stapleton before, and you were saying one thing you wish you maybe would have worked a little bit more. You were more worried about the role, and I know Riley's you said that many times, but I will say this: my dad would always say about you, like, how responsible and how smart of a hockey player you were. And I think even you took pride in your on the defensive side. You weren't a liability for your team ever, which is cool. And I think I could say the same for Riley. I watched him play as well up close. But it's something that Riley's brought up before about, maybe, well, besides the 2 past games with Joey Mullen when you weren't playing. But it's interesting.
Yeah, no, Riley. I mean, the same thing. Like we all want to play hockey. You just didn't want to have every time you go out on the ice, go out there and fight. You wanted to be able to play a little bit. And I mean, Riley could play a regular shift just like I did. As long as you kept the puck out of your net, you're responsible in your own end. You get back out there, and I could play a regular fourth line shift. And they're once the coach had confidence you do that, then you can play your regular shift. But and that was the fun part of the game too. I liked all facets of the game. I just wanted to be part of the team and do my job. Probably the worst thing I could have ever heard, and I didn't hear this, but is if I came in after the game and I thought I didn't do my job. That would probably been the worst feeling I had. If there was a chance where I could have done something to help my team win. So I wanted to be part of the team and do my job every night. And if I did that, I was happy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it makes sense. You mentioned you played the 3 games with the Flyers in that first year in the American League with in Portland there. The next year, I believe you played the full year with the Flyers.
Next year I played like 60 games. They moved the team to Springfield, Massachusetts that year, and we split the team with Chicago.
Oh.
I actually played 60 games there, and then I got called up to Hartford. Hartford was my first game that year,
right?
And then I never went. Then I didn't go back after that. Yeah.
Right,
and he had 17 goals in those 59 games too.
Yeah.
You were getting to play or doing it all.
Yeah, I was. I like I said, I think I thought I had a chance to play in the NHL regularly then, and so I tried to play more, and I could still do the tough, good fighting part of it if I needed to. So that's when I got better probably. I had more confidence, trained better maybe in the summertime, and came back and had more confidence. I think a lot of young kids, when they get stronger, they get more confident, and then their game grows.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you on that point there, like, eventually you land up with the Philadelphia Flyers, with the rich history of, the Broad Street Bullies, and, you're Dave Brown, and you're establishing yourself. Like, was there like an increased shift of mindset? Were you getting hungrier now that you had like this taste, and now you get like, now that you could sense that, like, holy shit, like, I'm the guy, and here's this opportunity in front of me? Did it like really accelerate the, you say, your excitement and your passion for your opportunity?
Well, obviously, and you know what it feels like, Riley. I mean, just to play for the Flyers was like, I never dreamed in my life that I was going to play for the Flyers. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be able to have that opportunity, I think for me too, is like, I wasn't a Broad Street Bully. The Broad Street Bullies were before us. They're the ones that really set the table for us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And, all that they did still filtered down to the times when I played. Like, there were other teams used to go in the spectrum, and they were scared.
Yeah.
And that wasn't from me. That was from the guys before me. They're the ones that set the table for me, and they made it easier for me, I think, because these guys were scared. Some of these other teams, I'm not saying all these teams, but there was some other teams that come in there, and there was a mystique there that had been there for years before that. So, I mean, I benefited a lot from the former Broad Street Bullies, Dave Schultz and those guys really set the table for me and made it easier for me. Dave Schultz and Paul Holmgren, and those are the guys that really did that kind of work for me beforehand and made it easier for me.
Well, you were a Bruise brother, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we know that was my favorite T-shirt as a kid. Him and Darren Stanley was one of my favorites.
Yeah, we should have sold more of those.
I know.
More of those.
Maybe we'll bring those back.
Yeah, I know,
Get those
right?
back. That's just a great photo.
that they sold out 2 nights in a row, and then they never sold them again. It's like, but they weren't into that at that time. They could have sold more of them.
Now,
Yeah, I know.
like
we should have
all
a Bruise
they
Brothers
do.
night. Bring you guys back. Some teas.
Riles, I was going to ask him about like we've talked about it with other guys too. Brown Dog, like, did you you knew what your role was? Obviously, did the anxiety ever get to you? Did you have trouble sleeping? We've asked, we talked to Chief. Chief had a funny statement. We were talking to him, and he was just like, imagine, because it was actually players asking a few years ago when I was still with the team, and they were asking Chief, like, well, were you able to sleep? He goes, you try taking a nap when you know you got to fight Probert, and then you got Kosert knocking on the glass after you fight him, going, I'm next. He's like, no, I didn't sleep much. But I mean, obviously, anything can happen in any fight, right? Like you always got to be on your toes.
It's just natural emotions, of course. Everybody is nervous in a game that is going to be a tough game. Nobody ever want to be embarrassed out there.
Right.
And second of all, they want to do their job. So, there's anxiety there. Tough games. You knew it was going to be, it could be a tough day. So you had to and I think that's what really got your body and your mind ready for it. If you didn't have that kind of intensity, then, it just meant that you weren't ready. But, Chief is right that you had to face a couple guys like that. You knew that it could be a tough night. So you would have to get your mindset ready to be ready for that. But I don't know too many people that, just personally wise that I experienced it, that you could have you might not be sleeping too much that afternoon.
It was a little different animal back then too, right?
Yeah, it was
2 or 3 or 4 guys you have to worry about.
Oh yeah, it was like, well, it's like, Riley, you did the same thing. It was like it's like I said, you don't want to be embarrassed, you don't want to get hurt, you don't want to you want to do your job. And we've all been punched in the face. We've all been knocked down. You just don't want to be embarrassed. You want to do your job, and your team look at you like you did your part that night. And so, failing with that was just in your own mind thinking, I didn't do my job for my team here tonight. So that's was the most important for me. I want to perform for your team and do the best job that you could so you can win the game.
Yeah, that's it.
I got a question about camps. Like, so my first year, I was with Mr. Clark and my dad in Florida. You probably remember, but Florida Panthers, and Roger Nielsen was our coach. And I remember going to the night before camp actually started, and Roger's like, "Listen, guys, cheesy cripes." He never swore. For crap's sakes, I don't want you guys fighting each other. I'll watch. If you're tough, see what you can do in these preseason games. Well, the puck dropped, and it was typical Clarky, the 4 teams. Like, I know you went through a lot of those camps, and there was a fight every 2 minutes. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I was like saying to my dad, "What the fuck is going on here, man? These, like, they're essentially teammates." And of course, this is my first year. I didn't understand how that worked, but Chief was telling me before when you guys went to camp, like, there's all these guys and they want to fight. You're just playing games. And what I was going to ask you is, like, once you were established, and maybe even before that, like, guys are coming into camp and they're probably looking at you like, you're the guy. Like, I got to go after this guy, or I'm not. Yeah, I got to try. Like, were you ever like, holy shit, man? Like, I do this all year. Like beat it but I guess.
No, hey, I had to. I mean, if they wanted to fight, you got to fight. You had to. I mean, those are just the rules. Guy wants to fight, you got to fight him. So, man up and get it done. It's just the way it is. And so you do the best you can. You just give yourself the best chance to win
it. Yeah, right. Oh, it's wild.
But yeah, no, I mean, a training camp all the way up. And you know what it was like, Riley. I mean, all from junior up to the minor leagues. I mean, and in the NHL, training camp could be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. I can remember back in junior, guy I played with, Bruce Gordon. He said, he was at camp, I think it was in Medicine Hat, and he fought one day 6 times. His hands were so bruised. His hands were bruised completely through each side. And so the coach said to him, he says, "Neil, maybe you should take a day off tomorrow."
You got a free pass.
Yeah. Wow.
I played with the 1 year junior with him, and he was a tough guy, man. But that's just, I mean, that was extreme. But that's stuff happened. Like, training camp, you might have to fight a lot. Usually it wasn't near as much as that once you're established. You go to Flyers camp and that you might have to fight a couple times, but it wasn't. But yeah, you had to, that was your part to keep yourself established. Saying, right, okay, you want to be the guy here, then you gotta fight sometimes, and that's part of the challenge.
Yeah, I'm gonna maintain that street cred.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the Brown Dog had any issues with street cred.
Everybody had to stay a little practiced up,
right? No, I hear you. I know you respected, just like Riley says. You got to respect everyone because you just never know. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Don't ever take anybody lightly.
Right.
Just like my dad used to say. He said, "Wherever there's a tough guy, he said, there's one that's tougher."
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
And so you had to, that's like, as you get older, you get smarter, and you just try and give yourself the best advantage as possible.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That being said, I mean, obviously you fought, every tough guy that played in your era. No easy fights. Was there 1 or 2 guys that that jumped out to you, just giving you a little bit more of a challenge than others, or is it kind of like a wash? They're all legitimately tough guys.
Well, I think they're all legitimately because I would say just overall, I felt like I respected everybody and I didn't take anybody lightly.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't win all my fights. I didn't win all my fights, and I don't think I lost all my fights, but I think most of them were close. But, a guy like Bobby Probert was tough. He was a tough guy, man. There's no doubt about it. He loved to fight, and he was good at it, Mm-hmm. I mean, and he's one of the best that ever done it. And Stu Grimson was a tough guy. You had
Yeah.
to be ready for him. But even a guy that probably fought the most is a guy that you might not think about, was Jay Miller, that played with Boston and played with LA. Like, I think I fought him something like 9 times.
Wow.
And so he was a tough guy. And there's a guy that name that you don't hear all the time that was a tough guy. You had to be ready for him,
Right.
So I guess the point I'm making, like, it didn't matter who you fought. If you get set on your ass if you're not ready to fight.
Yeah, that's the truth.
And take everybody seriously, because these guys are all good. Everybody had a couple of them, and they were all good. They got there for a reason, and they were all tough. So I like to feel like I respected everybody that I fought.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I could see that. You're honest. You're an honest fighter.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, like you weren't about the cheap shots. Like it seemed like you wanted the fair, like that respectful fight, and that's the way you approached it.
Yeah, I like to think I was fair. I can't see there weren't any fights that I might have got the start on somebody. Yeah, I probably did, but I didn't like to think I ever suckered anybody.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I like to think that I was an honest player. And when I went into a fight, everybody started, had a chance to win it. But, most of all, trying to make the point of you're doing it for a reason so your team can win.
That's right.
Yeah, that's it.
We have to talk about this quickly, Brownie, because it was one of my favorite things I ever saw as a kid. But and I'm sure you've talked about it probably a million times. But just want to talk about the night in Montreal in the playoffs. And I gotta say, I was talking to Baller last night, and I said in this little clip, right when you come on the ice, I would have been skating off the. You come out and we know the deal. Like, you guys just finished warm up, you go in, you take your jersey off. A lot of guys do that, but you come out with with not a jersey. It's one of the baddest things I've ever seen. Like, you just come out, you're just kind of looking like, my God, like what's going on in your mind? I mean, I heard Knuckles. He talked to us about it, and he was just like, well, I knew I was basically going to have to fight Brown because no one else probably could on our team. But just that whole lead up with Chico chasing around with Boxcar, that whole situation.
Well, I mean, I thought Eddie Hospital said we're not going to let him put it in the net anyway, but I just skipped to the part, like, we were sitting in the dressing room and Turk comes in and says, hey, they're fighting. They're out there. They're fighting.
Well, he had the arms going. He had to have the arms.
And so, we look around. I didn't take as long to decide, because this was the 6th game and I know that they'd been putting the puck in the net, and they thought it was like going to give them a little bit of momentum or something like that. And let's face it, we wanted to win this game so we could go to the finals.
Right.
So they're out there fighting. So we just, I remember pulling my elbow pads on and saying, well, let's go. And so we walked out there and see what was happening. I can remember Eddie had Claude Lemieux was punching him out. I had him on the ice, and then other guys were mulling around. And I knew what I had. I knew I was looking for Chris Nyland right away, and he knew it too.
Yeah,
we were the guys that we were going to have to fight. So, but then we did, and we must have fought and wrestled for 25 minutes.
I was going to say it was a long time, and I just can't imagine now you have to play. Not only fighting, but you're in the lineup, and Keenan dressed a bunch of extra guys, right, for warm up. Yeah, like maybe I don't know, like if he knew something, but right. You guys outnumbered him. But just you and Knuckles there. I mean, for that long, like it's almost like you guys took a couple little breaks and then you start.
Oh yeah, again. I mean, I couldn't. I had to get my forearms massaged after. I couldn't be so tight from clenching and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And in the fight, I remember, I know we were kind of jockeying for position and stuff like that. Chris Chelios jumped on my back. And so I think Knuckles went to kind of grab me. Then we were in a pile. And so I went down, I went to grab his legs so I could pull him up and take him off balance. And when I did, my skates bent in, I pulled most of the rivets out on the bottom.
Oh,
we used to have rivets. So after the brawl and that, I came in, the rivets were probably sticking out like this. It was like wobbly on my feet. But
you couldn't
that's
tell.
That's just part of the story anyway.
That's crazy.
We fought. I think we were just trying to make a point that we want to win the game. It happened that these guys were out on the ice fight, which is very unusual. I think the TV cut in already because they were supposed to start the game.
Right.
But, I don't know if they went to the brawl or not, but I think unfortunately, I think that might have been a product of at that time there. The league was probably embarrassed that we were fighting before the game.
Yeah, well, I think it changed the rules.
I was one of the participants, but
yeah.
But at that time, I can remember I think it was the next summer that they brought the rule in that if you started a brawl, it was 10-game suspension, and the coach got suspended for 10 games. I think it was the next summer.
Right. Yeah, that's why I think it changed the rules, but with that happening, because it wasn't happening like it did in the 70s or like they used to do.
Although at that time there, I can remember still brawling 2 or 3 times a year with benchman brawls. Jeez. I think we had one earlier that year with Calgary. So it's not like it didn't happen then, but it was, I think that the NHL, as they moved forward, thought that, they couldn't put that kind of violence on TV. It was violent.
A different level of violence.
There's one part of the video I see. Obviously my dad was there, and Pat Croce and Turk and Kurt Munt as well. But Cross comes out. Doug Crossman comes out. He's got flip flops on, and my old man's like, "Dude, you can't. Someone's gonna step on your feet." You can see him, and Cross is looking around.
Oh, I know.
What the hell is going on, man?
He's going like, what? What's going on? Let's get this cleaned up and get the game going.
Come back in, boys. Let's play.
That's okay. Great. Imagine if somebody grabbed him out on the ice. Get out of here, man. Somebody's gonna thump you.
Sunsy's got him by the arm in the video. It's hilarious.
Incredible warm up.
That's one of the things I get asked about the most. I was actually that game that I was up in New Jersey with Litz there. I was talking to some of the Montreal guys, and they brought it up too.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Yeah, it's unusual for it to happen, but I think, I guess we thought that you can use some of that intimidation to your advantage, and we wanted to finish the series out, and we actually did beat them that night, and we went to the finals. So, I don't know. That wasn't the plan, but it all worked out the way we needed to for us to move forward.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anyone in Philly was upset.
Yeah, I know. No one's turning their TVs off.
No one was turning the TV off when they saw it. I remember just jumping around. I was at home, and I was in North Carolina. Obviously, I was a kid, and I was just going, "No, I can't believe this is awesome." But anyway,
it was a wild clip.
Hey, it was awesome. I wasn't on the ice.
Exactly. You were safe.
I was safe. It
was a wild time. At all history now. It was. It's just very unusual, but it's fun to be a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are those moments that you'll obviously never forget, but I guess team building moments too, right? Like you talk about being in the trenches together.
Oh man, go to battle.
Yeah, because that year I think we there was a possibility of 28 playoff games. We played 26 of them.
Jeez.
We lost to Edmonton in the 7th game. Was a tough. That's still a kick in the gut for me. We were probably the best defensive team in the league, and Edmonton might have been the best offensive team. Not that they had a really good team too. They were a better team than us. They had 6 Hall of Famers, but we had a lot of guys that really played hard defensively. We were tough to score on, and Ron Hextall was out of his mind that year. He played unbelievable. He got the he won the MVP for the playoffs. That he was outstanding, and what a run to be part of. We're so proud of what we did, and just kind of wish we'd have been able to win that 7th game, but we didn't. So that's history.
Yeah, it's a grind. It shows you how hard it is to win, right? I
man.
mean, and you did end up winning, but like just the grind to go the distance.
You know what else was unfortunate too is we didn't have Tim Kerr in the playoffs. And
right.
I don't know if it was that year or the year before, he set the record for like 34 power play goals as a record or something.
Yeah.
And we didn't have him in that final game. I always think in my mind just like what it would have been if we'd had him.
Yeah.
He was worth a few goals, and that's all we need.
Yeah, right.
He sure was. He sure was. Big man, I saw the big man last summer. He's still jacked.
Oh,
what a big human. Gosh.
He is.
Kind of forget when you don't see someone for a while.
Yeah.
You ran into him, but you're right, Brown. He's scored goals like
he'd have guys hanging all over him. I think that's why his shoulders blew up on him too, because guys are always hanging all over him. But
yeah,
you got him that puck within his stick. It was going in the net.
Yeah,
he was unbelievable. I think he had something like 60 goals a couple years, and the other 2 years he had over 50.
Yeah, he was amazing.
He
was amazing. Wanted to ask real quickly, excuse me, about Mike Keenan. Obviously, he was coaching those teams when you guys went to the finals. Obviously, everyone's heard stories about him, but he liked to keep you guys on edge. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he didn't mess with you too much. I would have a feeling he wouldn't have messed with you too much, but for a couple reasons. One, you did your job, and I know under him you had a couple 10 and 12 goal seasons as well. He was allowing you to play because he trusted you and knew you could play.
Yeah.
But I've heard so many stories from a lot of guys you played with where there's some hatred there. Maybe it's subsided a little bit now over the years. But just maybe talk to him real quick about, like he would probably do some things, maybe not to you, but to a teammate. It pissed you off, but made you go out and play harder, I would imagine. Or
he didn't bother. He didn't mess with me too much, really. No, I don't know. Maybe I didn't hear him as much as some guys did. He drove Doug Crossman crazy.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But for me, no, I mean, for the most part, I got along with him all the time, and still do. It's still fun to talk to him now. Yeah. There's a lot of guys wouldn't have said that about him. Like he was hard on a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Like even sometimes he would go over the top with it. Even if he, there's times he should have laid off a little bit. I thought on some guys it would have been better for them, but he had his coaching style the way he was, and that's the way he thought he needed to coach to be successful. So, and he was a successful coach. I mean, I can't fault him for anything that he did. I'm sure there's some things that he would have changed along the way, but at the time, he's doing what he thought he needed to win the game and develop his team. So, and think about it, our team was successful. We were a good team at a young age. I think the first year we came in, we had 6 rookies in the lineup, and we won the. I think it was a President's Trophy that year for the most points as a team. So, whatever he did, you might not like some of his methods in that, but we were successful, and it's. I'd rather win than not win, and if you have to have a tough coach to do that, I'd rather do that and win than not win. So, but overall, no, he didn't bother me. I wish he'd been a little bit easier on some guys, but that was my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
You talk about losing to Edmonton. Well, you end up getting moved there. Were you pissed when you go there, because it's like, shit, these guys just beat me in 2 finals, but you end up hoisting that trophy. So I would imagine.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was shocked when I got traded. Oh yeah. I don't know. I guess. I was shocked. I was disappointed. I was a Flyer. I was drafted by the Flyers and that. But when I first went there, though, I was probably quiet for a couple weeks, and then, just getting beaten by them in the finals 2 of the 3 years. So yeah, it was tough at first, but probably it wasn't long after I got there, I looked around the dressing room thinking,
Not
Not a
bad.
bad situation. Yeah.
I didn't go into a bad situation.
I was gonna say you look at the roster
Yeah,
of the teams you're on.
They put me beside Mark Messier, and so sitting in the room there, and it didn't take but a couple of days to look around the dressing room and think, man, we got a pretty good team here.
Yeah, not bad.
So this could be a pretty good situation. No, I knew, going in there what kind of team they had.
Yeah.
But you're shocked when you first traded, and so I was disappointed in that way. But I certainly walked into a great situation, and it was a bunch of great guys. I mean, the team that they had, the team was there. They'd been there for how many years, and they'd won, I guess, 4 cups to that time. They knew how to win. I was extremely lucky to have that opportunity to be around that, to be with that. They made me a better player when I was there. I can remember when I got traded back to the Flyers, how much better skater I was.
Yeah.
Because they really played a fast style. I had to get way ahead in line rushes. Otherwise, I couldn't keep up with them.
Earlier you were just saying, like, you never really envisioned playing in the NHL. Although it's everyone's dream, right? Like as a kid coming up, but lifting that cup just had to be one of the best feelings in the world.
Oh yeah. Well, as like you're a kid, you're watching Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday night at 5:30 and thinking you can hear the music come on, and just thinking like, I'd love to lift the Stanley Cup and eventually do that. Yeah, it was like Messi brought me the cup because I'd only played 3 playoff games that year, and that's out the rest. But he brought me the cup after everybody else had touched it. Man, it is obviously a highlight of my career to be able to do that, just be a part of that team and win the Stanley Cup is very fortunate because we all know how hard it is to win that cup. And I still feel very fortunate to be able to being around a group and part of a group and then eventually win the Stanley Cup. There's just nothing like it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And as you mentioned, like being so close to winning it with the Flyers there, and just like because like some guys never actually get the opportunity to taste that, they get so close and then it never works out for them. So I'm sure it maybe even extra special for you having been that close. You could get a taste of it and then you actually win it. It seems.
Yeah, I've been so lucky to be with a lot of good teams. I've actually been there 3 times as a player and 2 as an executive. We lost. So I've been to just to tell you how hard it is. I mean, I've been there 5 times and I won it once.
Right.
Wow.
So I'm lucky to be able to taste it. Right.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Realize on that other side. So we all know how hard it is to win the Stanley Cup, but if you're ever able to do it there, it's very rewarding and just to be a part of that group and I feel very fortunate to be able to win the Stanley Cup. So I feel very lucky for that.
For sure. Brownie, I went to Chief after he led St. Louis there to the Cup and won. I went to his party and me and my son are standing there, Elvis with Chief and Elvis is like, "Can I touch it?" He goes, "Yeah." And I said, "I can't, buddy." And Chief goes, "You might as well because you ain't ever going to win one." I'm like, "Bro, come on, man." And the funny thing is, years before, I went out to Kenora to see Mike Richards after he won his second one.
Oh, yeah.
And he had the cup. It was weird. He had it almost 3 days. It was like 2.5 days. So the last day before they were taking it, he had to go to a couple businesses and into a golf course. So I put the seatbelt on the Stanley Cup. It's in his back seat. And I'm sitting there and he goes, "Why are you being so, just put the seatbelt on?" I'm like, "I can't touch it." He goes, "You guys ain't ever going to win."
Yeah.
So I've been told twice. I was told twice. So
you got it a couple times, huh?
Yeah, but I'm glad. I'm glad you deserved it, and I'm glad you were able to do that and have that feeling. It's got to be amazing.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I was lucky. So I feel very fortunate, but I'm hoping that we're going to get another one in the next few years here.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm still hungry for another one here.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's about time. The city needs it.
We need it.
The organization seems back on, back on track. It seems to be, trending in the right direction. The energy is, is there. The culture is back. You mentioned earlier, it's just a few pieces hitting on some of these picks and just letting the thing do its thing.
It's getting more young guys. Really
Yeah.
looking for young guys that can play and take a run at it here. I think we got some pieces here. We just have to be patient and keep on working here, and hope our team still competes.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, we're all optimistic.
Yep. Well, Brownie, we can't thank you enough, man. We really appreciate your time and how busy you are, and you are the man. You've always been such a great guy and always treated me well since I was a little kid. So just want to thank you for coming on, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me on, Riley, Derek. You guys did a good job there. So, yeah, like I say, appreciate you having me on, and maybe we'll do it again sometime.
All right, brother.
Absolutely.
Sounds good, man.
Appreciate you, Brownie. We'll see you soon.
Okay, fellas.
All right, big thank you to Dave Brown, Brownie.
The Brown Dog, heavyweight champ, man. You watch. I love how he says, "Oh, I didn't think I won."
So humble.
Won a lot of fucking fights, dude.
Let's slow-mo that left bomb and just see.
God. It looked like when he would throw an uppercut, it was going to touch the
top
rafters
of it. Yeah, I know it's the top of his skull, but geez.
Man, I meant to bring up to him, Baller may have that clip where him and Tim Hunter are going at it. I think there's a mic in the middle of the benches so you can... Tim Hunter's kind of giving him shit, and Brownie says, "Hey, Timmy, you got those gloves cemented on there?"
Take up the case. Hey, Timmy, you got that fucking gloves cemented on there?
I meant to ask him about that. I thought that was one of the funniest scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Brownie's just laughing. "We know, Brownie, you're doing your job." He's like, "You got your gloves cemented on." I thought it was pretty funny, but yeah, what a great guy. Just
Yeah,
a
he really
nice
is.
human, man. God.
Yeah.
Great dude.
Grounded, soul to the earth, yeah. Flyer for life, obviously.
Yes.
Just,
we forgot to bring up, he did work for the Rangers for almost 8 years
That's
as
right,
a
yeah.
scout. He coached after he was done playing. He was assistant coach with the Flyers, and then he went on to work with the Rangers for about 8 years, I think, and then he came back to where he belongs here with the Flyers, but does a great job.
Yeah, he does. And, we could have gone down a bunch of different directions there.
Yep.
1 hour is not much time, but maybe we'll have one for point.
Maybe we will.
2.0.
2.0, yeah. He's told me a lot of really cool stories over the years, but great guy, man.
Yeah.
Glad he was able to join us.
Absolutely. And you know what time it is, Nast?
I think I know what time it is.
Tell me.
Time for Klyr Rum.
Let's do it.
Time for Klyr Rum questions.
Oh, yeah.
Klyr Rum questions are brought to you by klyrrum.com/shop.
What a deal.
Type in Nasty 2023 and get 35% off of your order. PA residents only. Let's go, Baller. What do you got?
Leading us off today, we have Steve Gabriel over on Facebook.
Gibbs.
With Richard playing well, do you guys think Frost or Farabee will be on the trading block?
Well, first of all, Kevin Kurz, our buddy, has put out an article. I think you said today, Baller. Was it out today? Yeah. That maybe the Flyers and Frosty both think it might be time. Maybe they're parting ways. I don't want to see that. I love Frosty. He's my guy. I would rather see him get to play some more. I know, things happen, whatever. But with Richard, he has played well.
Yeah, I like his game.
But he's fast. He's obviously has an offensive side to his game. I wouldn't jump the gun too quickly here. Let's, if he stays in the lineup as playing, I'd hate to see Joel get tossed as well, just because they are on the younger side, and I think they have a lot more to give, both Frosty and Joel. But I guess we'll wait to see what happens there.
Yeah, Frosty really hasn't been playing much and
Right.
hasn't been able to produce. I do like Frosty. Just sometimes it takes guys a little longer to get going. It's one of those seasons for him. Maybe it's time to go experience another environment and maybe different philosophy, different coach.
Baller's saying Toronto.
Toronto squeeze in there. Well,
pretty good team.
Matthews
He's
on the
skilled.
shelf. And
Yeah. We don't know how long.
We don't know how long. Yeah, undisclosed. So
upper body.
But it's just the way it goes, right?
Yeah.
And players either idle or aren't able to get in the lineup and produce. that's the way it goes. And someone comes in and maybe outperforms them.
Yeah.
It's kind of what it seems like a little bit in this situation. Those things happen, but you're one injury, you're one game away from things changing too. So,
For sure.
that seems to be the direction this could be going. I think the Frost situation goes back to last year. And maybe parts of the season being unhappy, but wish him the best. However it goes, however it plays out for him. Hopefully, he can just maintain a positive attitude and keep on the skills and keep on the work off the ice and just staying fresh and sharp. And whenever his opportunities do come, he's ready to rock.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, in the 2-hole, we got Patrick Salerno from Instagram. He wants to know honest opinions on Matvei Michkov and his progress and play thus far, and thoughts on his future progress.
Well, I mean, obviously he's a pretty dynamic player. I think he's doing what we were hoping he would do. He's only going to get better, in my opinion, if you're talking about down the road. But for now, right now, I mean, just like the other night, we had no business winning that game in Ottawa. He gets a puck in a place where you think, oh, it's not dangerous, and all of a sudden he fires a shot on net. Maybe Olmark's not ready, but whatever. But that's where he's one of the special players where his mind's probably a step ahead of other guys on the ice, and little plays he makes in tight. I really like his game, and I'm not going to lie to you. I know he's had a pretty big impact so far. I mean, it's not like humongous, as Briz would say, humongous big, but just that game right there, he finds a way to score a game-winning goal for you, and there's been other games where he makes these plays, and he's just dangerous, and we haven't had that in a while where a guy's like that dangerous. I mean, let's face it, he was on the goal line the other night. I know you throw it, that probably happens a lot. You throw it on, but I feel like he saw a spot.
Oh, he definitely thought that one through.
It there on purpose, and those are things you probably can't teach, right?
Yeah.
And I think as he gets more used to this league, even this year, you hope he just keeps getting better and better because Brownie even said you have to have guys like that to win. So, it's a great question. But what do you think?
I'll cut you off real quick. There was an angle, I think it was from a Flyers social media cameraman who was up in the stands in Toronto. And
Ottawa,
correct. And you could see Meach coming down the right wing, and Omar crouches, and you can see a hole.
Wow.
I bet he saw that.
But that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
a guy like him, right? Like you said, baller.
Well, that just just speaks to what you're talking about, his being dynamic on the ice. Like he can create something out of nothing. He's seeing something that a lot of guys don't see. I think he's going to continue to get more dangerous. Like you see some of these young guys coming up, they have pretty good years, but to me there's like level 3, 4, 5. Like this guy is just getting going. The heart's there, the compete's there, the desire, the passion's there. He's just getting a taste. He's just getting going. The way I see it, because he just shows flurries of just being ultra dangerous. Yeah, he maybe drifts off sometimes, or he just maybe can't quite get it going. But that's the way it goes. As we talked about before, top of the circles in, maybe inside the blue line, he's really, obviously extremely dangerous. He's not carrying the puck to the neutral zone every shift, is wheeling and dealing. I think mainly top of the circles in. He's dangerous. He's always a threat. He can see the ice. He can expose guys. So I'd like to think that his creative faculties will continue to grow. He'll get more confidence. The team, improves as a collective. He'll improve as an individual. To me, he's an elite player. There's no question. And the teams build their franchises around guys like that. And this is what you need. The Flyers needed a guy like that, right? I mean, when's the last time we've had a guy this caliber come through and the excitement around him? So I'm excited to see where this guy who can take this thing.
Yeah, me too.
He's got the hunger for it. So
great question.
Mm-hmm.
Over on Facebook, we have Mark Sorensen. He wants to know your thoughts on CHL players being eligible to play NCAA college hockey now.
I haven't given that a whole lot of thought, but it is certainly a different dynamic than what I grew up around, right? It was like going back to when I was in the Western Hockey League. If you played one preseason game, you'd be redshirted and you couldn't play in NCAA. You could practice all year long, but you couldn't play any games. So it opens up a different dynamic. Maybe it just allows for players to explore that other option and see how that plays out versus having to kind of pick one or the other.
Right.
Before you choose a respected route, so.
Yeah, I was talking to our good friend Tom Bunting last week about this, director of hockey at Hollydale, and it was funny, we were talking about this because a lot of people saying, oh, this is great, but he brought up a point to me, and I'll ask you, like, does this hurt? Well, I forget exactly how he put it, but these Canadian kids now, they can play junior and still come. Does it take away from kids here? Like, if you can bring more kids in from Canada, obviously it's, there's a lot more hockey going on there. But there was a couple points he had made, like, is it good or is it bad? So it's kind of up in the air. Like, I don't know how it's going to play out, but you played junior, so what are your thoughts there?
Well, it depends on what perspective you're looking at. Through the player's perspective, I think that it allows players to have two clear options
right
out of the gate. I mean, they always had two options, right? It was either major, junior, or NCAA college route, but now you could actively pursue both and decide, later. You don't have to decide before the season. And because once you commit to the Western Hockey League, you have to. Well, you can't play, and you can't retract the decision. Right. It sounds like now you can, right? I mean, you can kind of pick your direction. So I think from the player's perspective, it allows for a little bit more exploration. If one's not working out, you might be able to try the other, I guess, if you will. I would think that maybe the NCAA or the college or even the Western Hockey League might have a different opinion about it because, one's potentially drawing players away from one league versus the other, right? Yeah. So now it's like, it's a different perspective, different conversation. But I think for a player and having two honest directions you could go, it's like, I'm going to give this Western Hockey League training camp a go, and if it doesn't work out, I could potentially go over here and play. That wasn't a thing back in the day. You could never do that.
You could play till you're 20 in the Western League and then go to college.
Well, yeah, exactly that too.
So I think you're taking scholarships away. I think some teams are losing scholarships as well. The other thing is in college now with the NIL, there's kids making money.
Oh, yeah.
Big money.
Yeah, right.
Like, I know maybe not as much in hockey, but just the whole dynamic.
But the opportunities there too, if they want to.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild. Like, I would like to say I know everything about what's going on there. I don't. Like you said, I haven't had a chance to really dive into it, but it's certainly different.
Yeah. No, it is. It'll be interesting how it shakes out. I mean, I think it's always been like if you think you have an honest chance of being a high pick and playing a pro game at a younger age, you would maybe go the Canadian Hockey League route because it's more like the pro game. The schedule is more pro. Just the style of play is probably a little more in line with the pro game. That's not taking away anything from college, because I think there's a lot of great players that come out of there. It seems to be like the development is maybe a year or two later, I guess you could say. But I don't know. To me, from a player's perspective, it just certainly opens up opportunity. Maybe less like having to make a rigid decision, and having a little bit of a backup plan if one doesn't work out. So, good question.
Yeah, good question.
This one is from Noah Sharp over on Twitter. What non-traditional international market do you think the NHL should take a few games to?
Well, we've been quite a few. God,
that's a good question.
It is a good question. I'm just trying to think where.
There's probably some unique places, like in Siberia. You can go plop a couple games.
In Siberia?
Why not? Got ice.
Boy, they definitely have ice. Yeah, I mean that's actually a really good question. I haven't thought about that.
I haven't really thought about it much either.
I've been to some cool places when I was able to do USA Hockey stuff, but it's places I believe. Well, I don't think they've ever been to Slovenia, but I've been there before we went to Latvia, I believe. Been to Sweden and Moscow, but they've been to those areas.
You think they'd ever take it out of, like you say, like a non-traditional hockey market? You think they ever take it to, somewhere in South America? You know, like Jamaica's got this, like, this hockey team. If I follow one in a Kenya hockey team, like obviously probably a long shot that you would ever go to places like that, but like. You ever think that they would go like that far outside of the non-traditional hockey market?
That's a great question. I think that's why he's asking us.
Well, yeah,
I think, but
let's go to Jamaica, man.
Yeah, it's hard. Well, listen, we wouldn't find you for days if we went to Jamaica. Well, you'd be floating.
Set up a pod there on the island.
Be floating.
Be between the benches.
Yeah. What'd you think there was, man? I don't know.
Yeah.
His eyes are shut. No, that's a great question. Though. I don't think we really answered it though.
No.
Were you going to say South America?
Wow. I don't know where I was going with it. Honestly.
I don't either.
There's so many places you could plop a hockey game, but
yeah, that's true. You're right.
There's obviously hockey there, but
I mean, if you want to switch it up, obviously they were just in Finland a few weeks ago, with Florida. But
what about like Switzerland, just like a
we went to Switzerland when I was still with the team, and that was really that was a cool.
That's a cool
space. It was cool, man.
It's nice and relaxed there.
It's fun being over there in the way the crowd it's like you're at a soccer game, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just. They just keep moving the whole game, and it's pretty entertaining. Like, I don't know if it's a distraction for players. I guess when you play over there, you get used to that. But I just remember the Flyers were playing the team that I think Michael Raffle plays for now in Lausanne. I was the captain of. But we played there, and the building was brand new. But it was, in the one end, it was just really cool. They were just singing and moving, and it was a cool thing, So maybe there, maybe Switzerland.
Why not?
You're right. Yeah.
So many options.
B86 all day wants to know, what was your first impression of each other when you guys first met?
Well,
me or my stick?
Well, yeah. I knew one thing. This guy had a hell of a backhand, whether it be right-handed or left-handed, because his stick was straight. But I found out quickly what kind of guy he was and what kind of teammate he was that Sunday after he didn't play the first two games, or the first game anyway. I can't remember if we played Saturday. No, not a McDaniels. I found out more then, but I found out when you fought Ivanez, if that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
This, like, the fact that we're down and Riles is like going out there because I guess you just thought, I got to get something. They put me in the lineup, and this guy was an absolute mutant. He just the biggest guy ever, juiced out of his mind.
Oh,
sorry, he
neck
was
like my thigh.
He was,
Yeah,
man. He was so big, and he got the jump on you. And my favorite part of that fight was at the end. I think he woke you up with the last punch. You never went down, but this guy was hitting you, and I just remember going, this poor guy, like I barely know him for 48 hours. And then the linemen kind of come in, and then Riles comes over the top with a left, hits him right in the mouth. Remember?
Oh, yeah, he didn't like that.
And he starts going banana. Like, I thought he was going to throw a line.
Because we played in Hamilton like 2 days later. Next week. I was like, oh, God, what did I just do there?
Yeah, I just remember thinking, like, wow, this guy's a team guy. And then obviously we get to know each other. And
then we land up
really
McDaniels that night to celebrate
and
the big win.
I'm like, well, he can party. He can party too.
Check that box off, yeah.
Danny Moore was in there making sure.
Making sure that my levels were up to speed.
They were up there. They were up there. Come from that Colonial League or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Colonial. Yeah.
What was it called?
I'm not sure what the C stood for. Central.
Yeah. But I can tell he was a great guy and a team guy for sure.
Yeah, I think for me it was just probably my immediate interaction with you. You could just tell the energy. You had that ability to make people feel comfortable, like you've already been there before, right? Yeah. So I'm sure that I'm not the only one that felt that. I think any guy that comes through the locker room feels that. So I think it was just that moment where, you just felt like, oh, you're at home. It's like this guy just makes you feel right and feel comfortable, and it makes the job a lot easier when you feel that way. So I think it was probably love at first sight.
Love at first sight. Great question.
This one is from Ellen Belaski over on Twitter. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. She wants to know, do you think there's a chance G would come back? Let's say he signs for one more year in Ottawa, then comes home for his final year or two.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he thinks, how long he wants to play. He obviously still playing at a great level. I mean, he's, I would love to see him back. I just don't know if that's, maybe, that's more up to Danny B and those guys. And G, like, I think G, he's so competitive, like he would like to have another shot to win.
Yeah.
And it's been all the way back in 2010. And I remember him saying, you get to the finals that early, you think, oh man, I'll get here again.
Yeah.
It's just,
Oh,
you
it's a
said
grind,
it to Brownie, it's not easy. And you got to be on a special team. And let's be honest, we had tons of special guys, great friends, good teams, but never realistically a team since the 2010. Maybe the next year, 2011 season, we had a really good team. We got ended up getting beat by Boston, who went on to win that year. After that, it kind of like slowly, went the other way. But I think for Gio, I'd love to see him to get to play on a team and have a shot, even if it's a deadline move. I don't know how close we are to that, though.
Yeah.
But would I love to see G back? Yeah, I would love to see G back.
Yeah, I could see it being one of the things, like maybe in the off season, if he has the ability to sign with somebody, maybe not getting any offers from like a true contender, or to your point, where he's like looking to to champion. But if there's a dialogue, say with Danny B and the Flyers around, okay, like come here for a year, and talking about like after when you're done, we potentially
right.
Finding a role for you in the organization. I think like he's not going to have an issue finding work, post playing because of his street cred. If he even wants to, right? I mean, he's made enough money, he probably don't need to, but
right.
You know how it is. Like your whole life's been the game. If you get an opportunity to be in an organization on some level, you might catch someone's ear. So
right.
if there's a dialogue around that, maybe giving some security to the family a little bit more long term.
Yeah,
I think he could be on the table, but those ones are a little tough to speculate because all the fans would probably love to see something like that.
Yeah,
but he's got a family. He's still pursuing a cup. And there's a few variables there that might get in the way. But business is business. If the terms line up for the family and for him, like who knows? But I know G and Danny have a great relationship.
Yes, they do.
At the very least, the conversation could be humored, but it's tough to speculate something like that. And
he's on his last year, right, Baller, in Ottawa. So you know what's funny is like you talk about next year, if Ottawa somehow doesn't sneak into the playoffs and his deal's up,
well, then
there always could be a deal made, and he could say, "Look, move me here, I'll go for it." And I'll come back here because, I mean, I can't imagine they wouldn't want him back. Only things I hear are positive from my buddies that play there or that work there and everything. And, G, we know G well, so we know what kind of guy he is. But I guess it's actually a great question. I would love to see him back.
Yeah, I would love to see it too.
I'm not sure if that's in their plans as far as unless you get him cheap.
Well,
if he takes it'd
have to make sense all around.
Someone's going to offer him money again next year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to put up close to 80 points. I don't want to jinx him.
Yeah,
but he'll almost
sure.
be a pointed guy like he normally is.
Yeah.
He is getting older, but he still looks good out there.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I agree.
All right, we got two more. This one's from Rich, not in Canada. With Jim Montgomery's dismissal, who do you see as the next coach on the chopping block?
We talked last week about Mike Sullivan and Pitt, but I just can't pin anything on him. I like we talked about last week.
Yeah, he lost a few horses there.
He lost some horses, and I'm not trying to shit on Kyle Dubas, but I mean, he's the guy making these decisions, and
his shelf life's got to be expiring too,
it's
right?
10 years, right? It's 10 years, and look, if Sully's getting ready to coach the U.S. team, I worked with him a couple times. Great guy, loud. The fact that I say this in a good he's lasted 10 years. It's hard for coaches like him because him and Torch are good, but he's on you, and just it doesn't work for some places, but he's been there 10 years, and if he lost his job tomorrow, he would probably get hired. He might get hired to see someone might fire a coach to bring him in. So I think either way, he's okay.
Yeah.
But I was thinking in my head maybe him just because where they are, but it's hard to blame him.
Yeah, I agree. And he is a hard coach. He's vocal, that deep voice. But from what I've heard and witnessed, like he doesn't sound like he's like condescending. Like some of these like harder coaches, like they're hard, and then they're like there's that next level. I wouldn't even call it hardness. It's like that next level of just being an a-hole.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where you
I don't think
the flex. I don't think he's got that.
No.
I think he's actually pretty humble. It sounds like because you can be vocal and hard, but like Chiefs, like Chiefs like that, right? I mean, it's like he knows how to turn it off. He can bust on a guy, but he's not like holding grudges, and he's not making guys feel weird. Like some of these hard, so those guys that have really short shelf life do that. Like they're hard, but they're just like they're across that line of being hard, and that little bit of a-hole comes out of them. They push guys away, I think. But I don't think he has that. So but that being said, again, business of performance. They are second last in the Metro there.
It's a lot easier to get rid of a coach than players, but I don't think, with the leadership, like we've talked about this so many times, like Sid, Letang, Malkin, like they obviously like him because if Sid didn't, he wouldn't be there.
Right.
Let's be honest.
100%.
And Sid's not that way. I don't mean it in a.
But you're right.
But if he was that bad or was caught, like he wouldn't be there. Like, and I go back. I know we talked about this earlier, but I can't sit there. I don't know everything that's going on in Boston. I'm not in that locker room, but I don't think Monty's the only place the finger should be pointed, but it is what it is. We've talked about that a million times. So that's a great question. That's the only thing I can think of right now. We kid around about Lindy Ruff in Buffalo, but man, they've got so many injuries.
Yeah.
He's not and everyone goes through it. Everyone goes through it, but he's back for his 7th stint.
He's certainly not getting canned before Christmas.
But that's the only thing that came to mind with that question, Baller. But there could be other guys that are right there as well. But it's early too. Like it's pretty early to see that happen.
It is, right.
You mentioned maybe fire a coach if Mike Sullivan became available. I saw a friend of the show, Tony D'Angelo, tweeted this morning. He said 15 teams should fire their coach.
Really?
To hire Monty.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
I'm still, like, I know before when Monty was in Dallas, he talked about, like, there was some issues that he went through, personal, like, demons, and that probably cost him. But this time, like, the team, you've lost some pretty key players, and some of your, Marchand being a captain, who I love his game.
Yeah.
Probably, I'm not putting the guy down. He's a hell of a player. I take him on my team, but I'm not sure he's where he was a couple years ago. You're getting older. The way he plays a hard game for a little guy, and I love his game. But like it seemed early to me. And knowing Monty and how he's a player's coach, I've never heard anyone say he's not. And I knew him as a player. I had him as I was an Aquimba guy, and I just know what he's all about. It just kind of shocked me a little bit. I know they're struggling, but anyway, that's great. I didn't know Tony said that. That's pretty cool.
All right, final one. This is from your boy Puffy.
Mr.
Sean Combs. Ask Nasty where I should pick up Monty at. Change is good. Move Monty to the bench coach and put Torts upstairs.
Puff, you've been puffing. Some of Riley's magic stuff. The devil's
magic
lettuce.
meds.
The devil's lettuce. I don't think that's happening, Puff.
No,
I don't think it's happening, Sean.
Year.
No, it's if anything, I thought maybe that would be the case with bringing Craig Berube in last year and keeping Torts on, but like maybe above, but I don't think that's happening. And right now, in the last week, they have been battling back, playing well. I was a little worried there at the beginning. It looked like things weren't quite right, but I don't think that's going to happen, Puff. I would love to see Monty come on, but God, I feel like they got 7 coaches on the bench every night.
Yeah,
like there's guys all over the place. But
another set of eyes. Now,
another set, never hurt. Well, they could always ask us. We
extra set.
Told Danny, come on, man. No, I don't think that's going to happen. But Monty should find a job, and his deal was up this year, and like we said before, they were talking about an extension, but obviously that's not going to happen now. But he will get on somewhere for sure. He's a really good coach. Jack Adams 2 years ago. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. It's the nature of the beast, Nast. It's
Yep.
tough business.
Well, thanks for all the questions.
Yeah, that's a wrap. Appreciate all the questions. 180 in the books. So be sure to follow us on all our social media platforms. Hop on YouTube, subscribe, like our stuff, ask some questions. And until next week for 181, stay safe, knuckleheads.
See ya.